All right, guys. Thanks for joining me on another horror on Tubi. Today we're talking with the writer, director, and star of Lexi, Victoria Vertuga.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
It's good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I've second interview on here, so I'm
Nice.
glad you could do it.
Thanks
Um,
for having me. Yeah, it seems like it'll be very popular. Many filmmakers are like, yeah, let's do it.
yeah, I know. I mean, I have so many to go through, and I've just been taking them in order. I think you were the second comment, so I popped on yours. So
Yeah.
let's start out. Tell us what is Lexi? What's it about?
Yeah, so Lexi is about like an influencer, a vlogger who's kind of all about positivity and life hacks and stuff, who moves into a new house and mysterious things start happening and she's getting hacked and it's told in a mockumentary format about her disappearance. So it's basically people trying to figure out what happened to her and explain why they think she disappeared.
Right, it has kind of a found footage feel.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
What made you decide to like tackle it from a found footage angle?
Yeah, well, so this was a pandemic film. So we had another project ready to go, and like everybody else, all our plans, best laid plans. So we were trying to think of what we could do in this times. I still wanted to be creative, still wanted to write, do something. So I was trying to come up with a concept that was somewhat interesting to me that I could shoot mostly myself, um, during that time period. So that's kind of, it was basically born out of necessity. So actually was inspired by, I don't know if you probably, the Elisa Lam story. Netflix actually did a documentary that came out during the pandemic on it. But it's this girl who came to LA on vacation, and there's this really weird elevator footage of her, where she's in an elevator. You see her, but you can't see what's happening on the outside of it. She's acting very strangely. You don't know if there's a person there or not, or what's going on. And I found the footage very compelling in terms of what you can see and what you can't see, and what's in frame and what's out of frame. And I think that there's something really inherently interesting about security camera footage. So that's kind of where I got the idea to tell it with that footage, because I haven't seen that done a ton. So it's basically told through her vlogs, her social media posts, the experts that are kind of pontificating with their theories about what happened, and then this security camera footage from her house.
About how long did it take you from like starting production to finishing out?
Yeah, it was a weird process because, again, it was so like not the normal. We didn't have like, we're having 17 days of filming for this feature because my husband's working from home. It was during the lockdown. So, got the idea, wrote it. A lot of it was honestly found kind of in the filming of it, in terms of like there were some ideas in the script that just didn't translate. And there were some ideas I had during filming where I was like, let me try it this way and see if I like this. So a lot of it was found during the process. And I was literally filming it like nights after my husband's off work, like after I'm off work, trying to fit it in the schedule. It took us probably, I want to say maybe even 6 months to get all the stuff locked and loaded and done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because of the weird nature of how it was. Yeah.
And it was pretty much like you were kind of a 2-person like team, and then
literally, yes. Yeah, exactly. So my writing partner, so we wrote the script. He said he felt like lonely. He'd be like checking the drive, and I would put like footage on every night. Like, did she film anything today? So I'm like, hey, there's stuff on the drive. And he would check it, and we would go back and forth. And then originally, we had filmed the interviews with our experts, kind of at like surrounding R. Kelly style, with like just a kind of fade into black backdrop. But we sent an early cut of the film to Frankie, who is a guy that has DP'd a few of our projects in the past. And he wanted to reshoot the interview stuff. It's like, oh, well, let me shoot it. I want to shoot it. We can make it better. So he did it, and I think it added a lot of production quality to it. So then we just we shot those days with our experts. We were able to crank those out with each of them in like half a day. Yeah.
I really love the just like bootstrapping it up, like using what I have available, shooting in my house, me and my husband, and we made a friggin' movie, like 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. By any means necessary, right? Got to do it. Because I think like so many people, like this is what I do for a living. And also I love it. Like I have to create. I feel like creators, we have a need to do it. How you're doing it can vary, but like the need to create is still there. So even during that time period, I just wanted to, be doing something, not, be doing something productive and creative and using that part of my brain. And so it was really kind of satisfying and gratifying in that way. And because it was like a project that we hadn't planned, and because it was filmed how it was filmed, it was just such a unique experience. And I didn't have kind of I think as a creator, you probably get this a little bit. Sometimes when you make something, you feel a little precious about it, right? You're like, oh, my precious baby. You're feeling very sensitive about it out in the world. Absolutely. And because of the way this was filmed, I don't have that with this. Like, I wish I could figure out how to recreate that with like every project going forward. I don't think I can. But I just feel differently about it because it's kind of weird, and we shot it weirdly, and it was like, like a fluke and a last minute thing. So It in some ways that made it a lot more free of a process. It's like, oh, let's put it out there and see what happens. There's less writing on it. There's less expectations. So because of that, that's kind of nice as a creator, to not feel that sensitive way about our thing, or like have all that pressure to pay the investor back, or whatever the situation may be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to put words into your mouth, but looking at your IMDb, I noticed like it seemed like you started out in a lot of acting credits. Like, did you move into like production to create opportunities for yourself?
Absolutely. I think like so many people, right? I think I was just kind of, that's what spurred me to start writing and creating in the whole first place. Is because I was very much typecast. I think I was very unsatisfied creatively by the roles I was going out for. How many times can I play hot girl number 3 or dumb blonde or whatever, hook up with this lead guy, hook up with that lead guy. It's like, oh, wow, that's why I got into acting, So I was a little bit disheartened and uninspired by the roles I was getting. So I had been writing actually. And then serendipitously, a director that I'd worked with on a previous project hit me up out of the blue and was like, hey, do you want to do something together? You've been writing, right? Let's like write something together. So we started working together, and we've done a ton of steps since then. I love having a partner, just somebody to bounce the ideas off of. Writing can be so lonely, so it's nice to have a partner because it feels a little bit less lonely in that process. And I'm very type A, so I've loved, shocking to no one who knows me, I've loved having the control in terms of like when you're on set, it's my project, it's my set. I set the tone. I treat people how I wish I was treated on set. I can do all the things for people I wish were done for me. I can control the people that I'm hiring and the environment and make it fun and make it how you want it to be. So I've really loved that part of the process of having control.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And now that I think about it, I think that is why I like having control and making some. Like, I like making bigger things too, but one of the things I really like about making smaller things is like there is no one to answer to.
Exactly. It's your thing. You can do what you want. There's so much more freedom that way, right? And I've absolutely loved that. So that's one of my favorite things, is just to have more power. As an actor, you have so little control over so many things, right? Like, you don't know if you're getting cut out or what that quality of the product's going to be in the end. You don't know where it's going to go, what it's going to do, whatever. So it's nice to actually be involved in more stages of the process and, have some control over all those factors.
Right. So I've always asked people this, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit about your if you were to like give an honest, like an online user review of your movie, I know it's really hard to separate yourself, but what would you say?
Like in terms of like
of Lexi? Yeah. If you were reviewing it, if you were online and somebody said, hey, how was this movie? And you didn't do it.
Yeah. It's funny because sometimes I find that I like to do as a creator things that annoy me as a viewer in terms of, so like we have purposely ambiguous endings. I won't spoil anything because I wanted it that way on purpose. I'm a huge true crime consumer. Mm-hmm. So I love that genre and that format, but there is kind of an inherent grossness to it, like an exploitative, by definition to it. And a lot of times they are left unsettled because we don't have answers. So we actually had tried a few different ways, and I liked it ambiguous. So that might annoy me as Victoria, the viewer. But that being said, I feel like it is like accurate for the piece of the story. So yeah, it's not going to win an Academy Award here. I think it's if you're into found footage, if you're into mockumentary, it has some nice humor. I think the cast is amazing. People I've worked with a million times that are so good. I think it's funny, it's interesting, it's cool. I find the security footage really compelling and interesting. So yeah, I think it's a fun little indie flick.
That's awesome. And you're honestly the first person that I've talked to in a while that's actually directed in found footage. When you're trying to create suspense on that, you can't move the camera, you can't, how are you making that work?
Yeah, and that's why I said a lot of it I kind of found during the filming process because it was playing with the frame, right? And it's like, does this work? Like, it can work in your mind on a script, and then you're like doing it, and you're like, and then you find something, okay, that's actually really cool. So yeah, a lot of it really is playing with the framing, right? And we wanted to do a lot of like things happening just outside, or also a lot of like you're just missing it, like something has just happened or it's happening off camera and that kind of a thing. So it's a lot of that, I think, is really experimenting with what's available to you, in terms of your rooms and your locations and the frame itself. So it is challenging in that way.
Right. And I would assume sound design's a big factor as well. Yeah.
Definitely.
And I'm sorry, I usually watch them before, but I didn't get to see it. Did you have a traditional score, or was it?
We don't.
That's cool.
Actually, we did it on purpose with like just the sounds that we have. So
nice.
Yeah, because we went back and forth on that as well, but I think that we wanted it to really feel like a true crime thing. So because of that, like if you're watching the actual footage, there's no sound design in the actual footage of this stuff happening. So there is music in terms of like her vlog has a cheesy little stupid, like that opens it and stuff. So you hear that like incessantly throughout the movie because every time her vlogs come on and that, but there isn't any like traditional score.
Okay. So how did you go about getting your movie on Tubi? Did you do it yourself? Did you go through a distributor?
So we did. We took it to a few distributors. We did have some interest, but because the offers that we're getting were kind of whatever, and because this was there was no offer that blew us away, as far as the MG or the money or the opportunities or whatever, and because we made this so cheaply with beholden to no one, I was like, so we can take that money and like basically make our budget back because we made it so cheaply and be done. Or we can use this as a weird opportunity to do it ourselves and learn like what that entails.
Right. And
also kind of have a little bit more knowledge of like what kind of numbers can we do on our own so that for the next project and the next one, we're more empowered when we make our negotiations. Like, hey, I know I made this easily on this last project. Like, I'm not going to take less than this or whatever the case may be, just to know what that looks like and what that landscape was. So ultimately we decided to do that. And I'm really glad we did because it has been an insanely informative process, albeit like a lot of work and a lot, a lot. But I am definitely glad we did it because I think that it puts us, we did it for the knowledge, right? Really more than anything, the data knowledge. And we've definitely gotten that back. So I think that that's really beneficial and will be beneficial for projects going forward.
Yeah, totally. So you used what, FilmHUB?
So yeah, we went through FilmHUB, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So as a viewer, were you really familiar with Tubi TV? Do you watch it?
I mean, I'm familiar. I also have a few actor friends who have been involved in Tubi originals as they're starting to do more. So I've been familiar with the platform. I know, especially in the urban space and the horror space, there's a lot of stuff on there. So yeah, I don't necessarily consume a ton of it myself. I have checked things out on there.
Yeah.
Especially too when you're doing research, in the indie film space. I think there's a lot of stuff.
Totally. Yeah. To be honest, I don't watch it much as a viewer. If I'm looking for something and it's nowhere else, I watch it there.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, check this movie out. Where is it? Okay, Tubi, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, most of our a lot of friends and peers have Tubi movies, so we're watching them on there.
Correct.
Right. Well, now, so you kind of answered this question. So I would assume you pretty much did this all yourself. So it's probably almost no budget, but like approximately what was?
So I did pay my actors because I'm an actor and I always pay my actors. Again, it's not, when you're talking SAG ultra low, it's like nothing anyway. So our costs were really, paying the actors, the cost of the mannequin head and like some of the props. We had some props.
Some food.
Yeah, some food, like the Ring cameras. Whatever. And then afterwards, we did have, obviously we had, sound design put in and we had, we had, poster made and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I want to say with everything, it was, under $5,000 for like all the, including your, your poster, your trailer, your all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So what was the most challenging aspect of shooting the movie?
I think, like I mentioned, how abnormal it was, just in terms of everything. The time that we were in, the kind of movie it was, all the kind of stuff. It was really unique, and so you couldn't really rely on the normal ways of doing things in like any way, shape, or form. Also, as an actor, it was really interesting because so much of it was literally just me with nothing and no one, and that was an interesting challenge, right? Because I had literally nothing and no one to play off of. And what was weird is actually doing the vlogs, because like you're performing to a tiny little, because I did those on iPhone because I wanted to look like that footage to look like actual vlog footage. So it's just on an iPhone. So like doing a performance to this tiny little camera and this tiny lens it was very interesting. So that was kind of an interesting challenge as an actor that I really enjoyed. But it did take me a second to kind of like figure that out, if that makes sense. What is this? How is this working? And what does this look like?
Right. So, and you have pretty much answered this, but how close did the movie come to your original vision? Like how much did it differ?
I think it's actually really close to our original vision, in terms of the tone, in terms of the, like the true crime aspects of it, the footage aspects of it. So yeah, I think it did. There obviously, whenever you're filming, there's things like you wish you could do, right? Oh, I wish we had the money for this or the space for that or the. But again, because this was kind of a weird project and how it was conceived in the time that we shot it, we had less of that. So I think because I had fewer expectations going in, and it was very much conceived to be shot in this time and place, with the restrictions that we had. So because of that, I think it was easier to kind of deliver on those because we already knew what our restrictions were going in, right? It's like, it's got to be 80% me in my house. Okay, how do we make that interesting? What do we do, right? All that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about the other cast a little bit. How did you go about casting?
Yeah, so with my projects, I always try to use people that I've worked with before as much as possible. Obviously, there's going to be roles each time that I need to cast. But I'm sure you as well as a director, when people are cool and you trust them, not only to deliver the performances, but also to just be a decent human on set and not, a disaster or pain or any of that kind of stuff. Like that is equally important as talent. Mm-hmm. So I always want to work with people that I know to be good and cool. Susan, who plays Alara, the paranormal kind of expert, she and I have been we've worked together for many movies. We were class together a long time ago. I've thrown her in like probably almost all my projects because I just love working with her. She's amazing. Maya, the girl who plays Camille, I've known her for many years as well. She was in my web series as well. And then Tommy, I did not know prior to my web series, but I cast him in that. He's amazing. And so I threw him back in this. So again, with that, I reached out to them early on in the process and I was like, hey, also because it was COVID and it was pre-vaccine time. So it had to be people who were cool working with me in the confines of, this weird time. So I wanted definitely in this situation to make sure that they were people I knew and were comfortable with me. So I asked them early on if they wanted to be involved, and then it was really easy to kind of write for their strengths and their voices as well, since I know them well and I've worked with them in the past. So yeah, I always, like I said, I always try to work with actors that I know. If not, I just cast through breakdowns. I'll do, usually do a self-tape situation and then do like a phone call to get a kind of sense of who they are as a person, make sure hopefully they're cool. And that's kind of the gist of how I cast.
Awesome. So how did you approach the marketing for it? Like, how do you market it?
Yeah. So we did, we basically found comps in terms of movies and shows and things that we think people like them would like. Lexi, other fun footage stuff, other true crime kind of mockumentary stuff. And we did some Facebook ads, and that's kind of been some social ads and stuff like that. I also did a bunch of podcasts with people in the horror community, which is great. The horror community is amazing, right? Like, yeah, they are just awesome humans who love it, and they want people to succeed in the genre, and they're very welcoming and very cool and happy to promote you, and that's been amazing. So, I'm a horror fan myself, obviously. So it's been really cool to be embraced by that community and be kind of entrenched in it. So yeah, kind of basically that's kind of the typical kind of horror blogs, horror podcasts, and then kind of social stuff. And I will fully admit, this is my first foray into marketing, so I have much to learn in that regard. Totally. Nor do I love it. Oof, it's a lot. So yeah, like filmmakers, I think that's definitely not my strongest area.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Most of us didn't get into filmmaking to be marketers. Unfortunately, it's become kind of a necessity for indie stuff. Yeah. How did you go about finding and contacting the blogs? Did you just cold call stuff like that?
Yeah, I basically compiled a list of them. There's obviously the main ones that we know about, but there's so many that we don't. So I basically just compiled a list of places, and then sent emails out for asking for reviews early on for the places that do reviews, and same thing for podcasts. I also, because I am an actress, I have done some of this for other projects in the past. So anybody that I had already had me on for another project, that was just super easy, right? I sent an email, hey, I did this thing, you want to have me on? And they're like, yeah, of course, come back. So that's amazing. I think the more you do, the more you have those contacts in place for the next thing. So that was kind of those were the easy things to get going. Also, what I noticed too is I would do a podcast over here, and then they have 3 friends who also have podcasts, and they'd be like, hey, can I put you in touch with my 3 friends? And I'm like, yeah, put me in touch with anyone. So it kind of happened naturally, or people would find it and be like, hey, I saw your thing after it was released, can we talk about it? And then, yeah, that's the best, right? They just find you organically. So that's been really, really cool part of the process.
Awesome. So what's next for you then?
Yeah. So the movie that we were originally going to do during that year, that we didn't because of the pandemic, we shot at the end of I don't even know what year. The end of 2021. Yes. So it's been, I'm like, when did we shoot that? Yeah. So it's been in post and we just finished. So we are hoping to do like a festival run this calendar year, hopefully, at some of the genre fests. And then see what's what at the end of the year. You know, hopefully end of this year, early next year, we'll be releasing it or preparing to release it. So that's starring myself and Jamie Bernadette, who's filmmaking.
I know her.
Yeah, she's awesome. So that was super fun, really, really fun project. I'm really excited about it. It's like, much more, I don't want to say normal. That Lexi isn't normal, but it's not found footage. It wasn't a pandemic film, right? It was a normal shoot with, 19 days of filming. So yeah, that's really cool. It looks beautiful. We were really lucky to have, actually, he was the grip for us, but he's like an Emmy winning DP. It just looks beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So I'm excited about that.